Hi friends, it's Unicorn. May is a lot of things, and one of them is the Mental Health Awareness Month. As a person who firmly believes that taking care of our mental well-being is crucial, I want to recommend you 10 books to read about the topic of mental health today. However, before we start, I want to address that the discussion about mental health is, of course, not only limited to this month. It is an ongoing conversation that requires us continuous attention and action. And also, it is important to recognize that we shouldn't blame mental health for a lot of other societal issues. While mental health plays a significant role in our well-being as individuals and also as society, there are also more and other complex issues that contribute to the challenges we are facing every day. It is essential to address these issues holistically and not only placing blames on mental health. And yes, Texas, I'm looking at you. And a lot of times, mental health issues are the result of other challenges we're facing and not the other way around. So with that being said and understood, let's dive into the book recommendations. I have 10 books here, 5 of them are non-fictions and all of them are memoirs and 5 others are novels. I actually only have 2 physical books of those 10 with me, so I borrowed a lot of other books from my shelves for the thumbnail, and I'm sure you don't mind. So without further ado, let's talk about the memoirs first. The first book that jumped into my mind for this video is a book that I read earlier this year, and it is called it's upside down. It is called I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Baek Se-hee and translated by Anton Hur. This is a very unique book because this is essentially the conversations between Baek Se-hee and her psychiatrist and also contains some of her notes. It is a recording from a time when Baek Se-hee is feeling persistently low and suffering from self-doubt and very depressed. And it is also at a time when she feels it's hard to make connections with others. However, at her most depressed times, she can still summon the spirit for her favorite street food, tteokbokki. So this daily existence of depression and her passion for her street food confused her, which leads her to seek help from her psychiatrist. One of the most important reasons why I love this book so much is that Baek Se-hee is very candid about her feelings, and she described a very important question, which is what is the acceptable level of depression? And she spoke out for the people who's not in immediate danger but also not in a good place either. This stage in her word is who seem totally fine on the outside but are rotten on the inside, where the rot is the vague state of being not fine and not devastated at the same time. I like how she captured this stage precisely, and this sentiment echoes with me the whole time when I was reading this book. Another reason is she talks about how art is important to her. She wrote, I've always thought that art is about moving hearts and minds. Art has given me faith. The faith that today may not have been perfect but was still a pretty good day, or faith that even after a long day of being depressed, I can still burst into laughter over something very small. I've already quoted this sentence in one of my previous videos, but I still love it a lot. And not gonna lie, it brings me into tears almost every time when I read it, because this is exactly how I feel about art, and I'm really glad and appreciate that Baek Se-hee can put it into words. The next book I want to recommend is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This book was everywhere last year, and I was kind of hesitant because I don't deal with the emotions very well when it comes to mother and daughter relationship, and this book, just from the title that we can tell, it is a deep dive into a tangled mother and daughter relationship. But I'm also curious due to its popularity, and I'm glad that it did not disappoint. It actually blew me away. I actually didn't know Jennette McCurdy before I read this book, but despite that I'm unfamiliar with her, this book engrossed me from the start. One of the reasons is, of course, her stories are just so bizarre and eye-opening, for lack of a better word. The thing and hardness that she went through is beyond my imagination. She showed us vividly how it feels like to grow up with a narcissist parent with BPD. This book covers her story from when she was a little child to now after her mom passed away, and each story was written with a voice at that specific age. So this approach actually provides us a very unique angle into her stories. For example, when she was little, she always thought that her mom is the goddess and the one person and one and only authority that she needs to be happy. And it also showed us her growth over the years, and it's so impressive that she can view her situation so clearly towards the end of the book. I was struck by her personal evolution and growth across the book, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommend. The third memoir I want to recommend is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. This book is special because the author is a therapist herself, so she shares her experience of being both a therapist and a patient. One day, a crisis happened in her life and made her world collapse, so she found herself a quirky therapist through a friend's recommendation. And in this book, she shared her experience going through with her therapist and also some highlights from her patients, which all of the stories are kind of astonishing and thought-provoking. I think this book serves as a reminder to us that it is okay to ask for help sometimes, and it is hard even for therapists sometimes to put their lives together. This book highlights the universal needs for compassion and understanding. I recommend this book to anyone who's interested in the topic of therapy or who's undergoing therapy themselves or simply curious about some hot tea from her clients, because apparently some of her clients are Hollywood big names because she practiced in LA. Following, I have Furiously Happy, a funny book about horrible things by Jenny Lawson. I read this book years ago during my early years of BookTube, and this remains one of the most memorable books that I have read. This book is as delightful as its cover and has the most lighthearted tone among all the books that I'm recommending today, but the topic is equally serious. Jenny Lawson shares her personal experience with mental health, talking hilariously about her darkest times, and use humor to navigate through her challenges that she's facing in her daily life. I remember laugh out loud when I was reading this book, but also sometimes sink into the deepest thought. I'm actually currently reading one of her newer books called Broken, and all the memories about Furiously Happy came back to me. And I'm once again impressed by her ability to blend humor into difficult situations. I recommend this book to anyone who wants a good laugh but also wants to think or discuss about some hard questions in life. The last memoir I want to recommend here has a drastically different tone from the last one. It is Hunger by Roxane Gay. This is a raw and powerful and profound and deeply personal memoir. In this book, Roxane Gay discussed the various factors that shaped her relationship with her body and hunger, and dived into the roots behind it, including trauma, abuse, and the sense of security. She showed us the ongoing struggles of navigating a world that is often stigmatized and discriminate individuals based on their size. This book is very important and enlightening to me. I remember I was reading it during a road trip, and it opened my eyes just like how the road in front of me was unfolding to a broader scenery. So this is something that I think I'll never forget, especially nowadays after so many years this book has been published. The topic in this book are still widely discussed, and it continues to inspire so many meaningful conversations, and it's also why I kept recommending it. And that's all the memoirs I want to recommend today, and now let's dive into the 5 novels. The first novel I want to recommend, I've already raved about it many times on my channel. It's one of my favorites from last year, and it is Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. This story is talking about a woman called Martha who is suffering from mental illness her entire life, but she never knows what it is. And the story started when Martha found herself in an argument with her husband, which leads to a series of events to discover the complexity beneath her seemingly ordinary life. I love this book so much, and I discover new aspects every time I revisit this book. And this time, when I was prepping for this video, I realized that the story was not only about what the life is about when you are living with mental illness, but it's also about the importance of being acknowledged, being understood, and being seen. This book has yet another complex mother and daughter relationship, and it made me bawling when I was reading this book. But what captured me more is Martha's journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance. As a person who's continuously figured herself out, I truly understand how important it is to identify the things that are going on in our life and in our mind, and how treacherous the aha moments are. This book echoes my experience from that aspect and make me feel so validated. And for this reason, I really love this book and highly recommend it. The next book is What Are You Going Through by Sigrid Nunez. This book is a wandering of mind. It is a exploration of human connection and empathy through observation and conversation. The narrator has a friend who's diagnosed with terminal disease, so she started to visit this friend regularly. In the process, she started to ask the question, what are you going through, to herself and also the people around her. Some of them are long-term friends, some of them are just passengers in her life, and some of the people she's asking the question to are not even talking to her. This book makes me reflect on the shared struggles and challenges that we're facing in our daily life, and how empathy and understanding play a vital role in our connection with others. Following, I want to recommend My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. This book is very weird because I didn't expect it to have such a long-lasting impact on my life, so I think I actually unhauled it. I've already mentioned it a couple times on my channel after I got rid of it. At first, I thought I just misplaced it, but now I'm fairly sure that it's gone from my life, so that's like the one unhaul that I regret. This book follows a seemingly privileged young woman who just got out of school and decided to hibernate for a year through the help of medication. She seeks to escape reality, escape her life, and escape the relationship in her life. It is really hard to address this main character in a likable way. She is conventionally beautiful, she has a fortune, she just came out of school, which she studied something that she liked, she has an easy job, and she's complaining about everything. And she's talking about she doesn't really have friends. But despite she's saying that all the time, we do see there are people in her life who deeply care for her. However, this is one of the books that portrays the unlikable characters effectively. It actually dives deep into the roots of the behavior of the character, talking about her complex past and the confusing current behavior. It also confronts the fact that although she says she doesn't care for anyone, she has complex emotions that mix in her behavior of how she treats others. From time to time, I found myself always come back to think about this book, and I always wanted to reread it, and I'm so regret that I got rid of it. Second to the last, I want to recommend Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. This book follows Ada, a young Nigerian woman with multiple selves inhabiting her body. She is believed to have been born with one foot on the other side. With her reality and spiritual beliefs intertwined, this book presents Ada from different perspectives within herself, and unfolding all the struggles she has due to identity, mental health, and societal expectations. This book is truly unique because it's blending the spiritual world she has and also her mental health world. So we as readers are often left questioning what is the reality and what is the mythological beliefs. So for that reason, this book immersing us in the vibrant Nigerian culture, which is truly special. The last book I want to recommend here is actually a book that I have never seen been discussed here on BookTube, but it is a book that I always think about. It is Imagine Me Gone by Adam Haslett. This book is talking about a family, especially the father in this family who has been suffering from depression for years. He was actually hospitalized before he got married, but her then fiance, now wife, decided to marry him nonetheless, and they have 3 children together. This book is written from each family member's perspective and talking about their struggles, suffering or take care of someone who's suffering from depression. It delves into the impact of depression for their individual lives and also the collective effect on their family. This book always reminds me of a personal experience when a Chinese translator and writer that I admired a lot called Sun Zhongxu passed away. His son came onto his social media account and announced the news and also said, "My dad is finally not suffering anymore." I get emotional every time I think about that day, and I truly understand that the battle of the caregivers need to win through. So this book captured the dynamic of the family members just right, and it is the reason why I recommend it. And that's all the books that I want to recommend in this video. I feel like my spirit is going lower and lower with more and more book recommendations because mental health is truly a heavy topic to discuss. But it's also precisely why that we need to read and educate ourselves more and more on this topic from different perspectives. Like I said in the beginning of the video, there is still so much work to be done in terms of support, awareness, and destigmatization. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video and discovered some new books that you want to read. Please let me know any of your thoughts down below in the comment section. Have you read any of the books? What do you recommend on the topic of mental health? And what did you read recently? Don't forget to thumbs up to this video if you liked it. I wish you happy reading, stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you in my next bookish video. Bye!